My wife and I have 3 kids, a kindergartner and toddler twin daughters. My wife also has a tween daughter from a previous relationship. My wife and I love visiting this town a few hours away from us with the kids and decided this year to buy a house there. We've been looking at houses for a few months now, and there's one thing we can't agree on. We can't afford a 3-bedroom, 2-bath condo within walking distance from all the shops and restaurants, or a 4-bedroom, 2 to 3 bath house, maybe a 5 to 10 minute drive to everything. I want to get the condo and have the girls in one room and my son in the other. However, my wife doesn't want her daughter to share a room with the twins, so she either wants the 4-bedroom house, or if we have to get a 3-bedroom, she wants to have the twins share with our son until we can eventually add a 4th bedroom, or her daughter goes to college and won't be traveling with us as much. I tried to compromise and find a house with a 4th bedroom for my stepdaughter that's still walkable, but my wife still doesn't like it because her daughter would be in the basement while the rest of us would be on the 2nd floor. She says this house would isolate her daughter. Then she said she doesn't want to even be able to walk to the shops and restaurants because the double stroller is too bulky to bring into half of them, and she'll have to deal with our son complaining about his feet hurting, and she can't even make that walk with the kids half the year when it's snowing. She has a habit of spoiling her daughter, and I think that's what she's doing here at my and my kids' expense. Am I the idiot for wanting a house in a walkable neighborhood, even if it means my stepdaughter will have to share a room? You are the idiot. Your solution is to shove her into a converted basement? She's just as much of a member of the house as your kids. Don't try to shove her into some weird area that's separate from the rest of the living spaces in the house. Why don't you just go ahead and admit you dislike this poor child? Additionally, your wife is giving you input on what she wants in a home, and you need to pay attention to it. If you can't afford a house that fits everyone, and if the two of you can't compromise, then don't buy the house. Why don't you and your wife take the basement and let your daughter, son, and twins have a room? That way, the kids each get the space they need and deserve. Your daughter will also have some needed distance from an idiot stepfather who isn't thinking about her equally. Sorry, but you're planning to make your stepdaughter a nanny for the toddlers. Yeah, precious baby boy gets his own room automatically, while the stepdaughter is set up to spend the next 8 years babysitting the little girls. OP, you're a moron, and your tone of resentment is revealing. You accuse your wife of spoiling her daughter at your expense and the expense of your kids. Your stepdaughter's also your daughter now, and expecting a tween to share a bedroom with 2 toddlers is asking a lot. Toddlers are not easy, and your stepdaughter's almost a teenager, so the differences will only become extreme. Also, squeezing 3 children in one small condo bedroom is a lot, even if the kids are all the same age. What's your reason? Just that you can walk to the shops a little quicker? You're expecting your stepdaughter to take the hit, not you. Why are you treating your stepdaughter's placement like a problem? Why don't you move the toddlers you fathered into your room? She never asked you to have more babies. Sticking a kid in the basement is something a villain in a fairy tale would do. In the meantime, your son gets his own room in every scenario. Yet you say your wife spoils the older girl. Ever since my children were small, our family, my wife 47 female and I 45 female, kids nearly adult male and teen female, has had a tradition where we let each kid pick a restaurant to go to as an end of school year celebration. They each pick whatever restaurant they want for us to all go to and order what they want. Over the years, this has meant everything from banana split for dinner, to a steakhouse, to omakase, to hand-pulled noodles. We've never put restrictions on it, except it has to be within an hour's drive each way. Yesterday, my daughter came to us with her choice, and her selection caught me completely off guard. It's an extremely high-end restaurant that costs $315 per person. That's a set tasting menu, so there's no way to, e.g., let the kids order something expensive, and my wife and I order the cheapest thing. I checked whether they had age restrictions, and they permit guests over 13. With tax, tip, and parking, it'd be north of $1,500. This restaurant is an extreme outlier for our city, so it caught me so off guard. Even the fancy steakhouses here only run $100 per person, even if you order a nice steak, an appetizer for the table, and desserts. We've certainly let the kids pick expensive restaurants before. Still, prior to this, the most expensive things they've ordered were a $55 ribeye or a $60 omakase. We generally budget around $1,000 total for both meals, and anything left over goes into the family vacation fund. My wife and I told her that it was out of our budget, and she got very upset and said that we had promised her any restaurant she wanted, which is true, we did say that. And she said I was going back on my word. I said quite honestly that it never occurred to me that she could find a $300 a head restaurant, let alone ask to go there. So it didn't occur to me to tell her that it was off limits. She got mad and said I was implying that she was being greedy. I said, I don't think you're greedy. I do think you're being unrealistic. She burst into tears and said she couldn't trust us anymore. My wife and I agree, but my sister, who's very close to my daughter, called to tell me that it's important never to break a promise to a child. I asked her if she would have anticipated being asked for dinner at the only $300 a person restaurant in a 5-hour radius. She said no, but that's why she'd never make that kind of promise to her children. She says I need to apologize and either take her, we can technically afford it, and make cuts to the other fund budgets, or apologize and find a way to make it up to her. I want to note that my daughter does not generally ask for expensive things. She's never demanded lavish gifts. She's pretty sensible about money, generally speaking, and she's always shown gratitude for the advantages that we all have. So I don't know where this came from. I did ask, and she just said she wanted to try it, and we promised. So, am I the idiot for saying no here? Not the idiot. I don't think you guys are idiots. Your daughter's trying to find a way to push the boundaries of dinner. You've been giving an inch, and she's trying to take a mile. This is like telling a kid you'll help them buy a car when they graduate, and they want a Lamborghini. That's just not realistic. If the sister's so concerned you're going back on your word, then let her pay for you guys. $300 per person is nothing to scoff at, and that money could be better spent around the house or towards something usable long term. I'd suggest setting a $100 budget per person in the future. Set clearer expectations. I have issues. Your sister's feeding into your daughter's tantrum. Even she herself said she wouldn't do it. So she should understand the severity of that much money being spent on a single restaurant for one family meal. Especially, I would just never make any hypothetical promises to my hypothetical children. Wow, thanks. Great advice. Right? LOL. The sister's input was just unnecessary and not understanding at all. I have to wonder if there isn't something else going on with the daughter besides the dinner. She had to know that her parents probably wouldn't agree to a $300 a person restaurant. She seems to be trying to get their attention. And if I were the parents, I'd try to figure out what's really going on. I wonder if she told someone that she's trying to impress, that she's going there. My brother was a single dad for the first 6 years of his son's life. Then my brother met his wife, Emma, and Emma's son, Logan. Logan and my nephew had an oil and water relationship and were not close. They were stepbrothers for about 18 months and had known each other for about 3 years when Logan died suddenly. Emma fell apart, unsurprisingly. My nephew confided in me a few times that he felt like everyone expected him to feel and react differently than he did. He told me he wasn't glad Logan was dead, and it was sad, but he didn't feel like he had lost anyone. He said he thought Emma was beginning to notice more since he wasn't crying and didn't have much trouble continuing with life as normal. I told him it was okay to feel that way, as long as he was compassionate of others, and if he needed to talk, he could always come to me. My nephew had a birthday 3 months ago and is nearly an adult, and he begged to move in with my family. Things were bad with my brother and Emma. About a year before, Emma had been quizzing my nephew about Logan and all things connected. Then before Christmas, she decided to spy on my nephew and his friend. His friend had lost his dad and sister in a car crash, and my nephew was consoling him. She heard my nephew say he had never experienced a personal loss before and wasn't sure how it would go, but he would always let his friend talk. Emma went nuts on the boys and chased the friend off, who was already upset. My nephew ended up yelling at her, and the other boy's parents called my brother. My brother told my nephew he should be ashamed of himself for being so dismissive of his brother's death. This was when my nephew called. I was able to let him stay, primarily due to the police not wanting to drag him back to my brother's house. He called them, and my having already contacted CPS to talk about what was going on, and they sent somebody to talk to my nephew and then my brother and Emma, so my nephew gets to stay with me. My brother has accused me of taking his son away from him and told me I should be ashamed of myself. He said it wasn't my place to get so involved. I told him I didn't take his son. He chose to leave, and that if he didn't want his son taken away, he should have been a better father. This was when he told me I was overstepping, and I should see his point of view and how awful it is what my nephew has said and done. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. If I'm reading the timeline right, this kid died when he was 9, and Emma and your brother are losing their minds that your nephew isn't grieving enough and spying on his social interactions to see whether he's sufficiently sad? That's wild. Both of them need professional help. I'm glad you're giving your nephew a safe harbor from this situation. OMG, this tension has been bubbling along for all this time? 8 years? Is Emma in grief counseling? It sounds like your brother isn't only failing as a parent, but also as a husband, if he's failing to get his wife the support she needs, if she's still punishing her stepson. She's angry that he never felt the level of grief she wanted him to. Emma shouldn't expect a kid to grieve the loss of her son as she is. No one will grieve like she is. He's just being honest. It doesn't sound like he's dismissing anyone else's feelings. OP, I'm glad your nephew has you. You're providing your nephew with shelter and a safe refuge. You need to clarify to your brother that your goal is to provide shelter for your nephew. Try not to get too involved with the family conflict and avoid the urge to judge your brother's parenting skills. Instead, encourage them all to seek counseling to try and resolve the conflict. My husband has a daughter from a previous relationship, Maddie, teen. Before I even met my husband, Maddie's mother moved abroad. Maddie decided to go with her. My husband and I have been married for 10 years, and we have a preteen daughter, Abby. Maddie visits us for the whole summer and 2 weeks in the winter. We go to her when Abby's on spring break. We obviously save big family trips for when Maddie is with us. Same with any other once-in-a-lifetime event. However, my husband is consistently reluctant to do anything without Maddie. I've tried to be patient, but we can't do anything throughout the year until she gets there. An example, we live near a water park. We have season passes and take Maddie all throughout the summer, but my husband refuses to go until Maddie comes to stay with us, and he doesn't want Abby to go as it's unfair. I've tried discussing this with him, but he won't budge. Sometimes I win him over, but then he complains that Maddie isn't there. Abby loves Taylor Swift, who was going to be in the area for a limited time before Maddie arrived. My mom somehow scored us tickets, and Abby was so excited. My husband said it wasn't fair because Maddie also loves Taylor Swift, and she doesn't get to go. I said I'd take both girls to another concert during the summer, as there are going to be a few other artists that I know Maddie likes in the area. My husband said it still wasn't fair and tried to ban Abby from going. Because I know it'll be asked, it's not possible for Maddie to fly out for the concert. She still has school and important exams that can't be missed. I put my foot down and said that life isn't always fair. Maddie lives in another country. She's going to miss out on some things. It's unfair to ask Abby to give up fun opportunities because Maddie can't come. I pointed out that Maddie gets to do fun things with her mom and Abby isn't there, which I think is completely fair. My husband said that it's different because his ex isn't Abby's mom, but he's Maddie's dad. Eventually, he could see I wouldn't give up and said yes to the concert. My mom, Abby, and I attended, and we had a great time. It was Abby's first concert, and she loved it. My husband says I bullied him into this, and that if Maddie didn't get to go, Abby shouldn't. Maddie's disappointed she didn't get to go, but seems happy for her sister. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. The longer this behavior continues, Abby will start to feel like Maddie's more important to their dad. He's trying so hard to make sure Maddie doesn't miss out, that he's making Abby miss out. Maddie has her life with her mom and her dad. And what? Abby's supposed to just sit around and put parts of her life on hold, missing out on experiences and chances to learn and grow in the meantime? Don't think so. Your husband needs to reassess how he's handling things, or if this could really harm Abby's future relationships with both him and her sister. Yep. He's gonna destroy their sister relationship. Also, Maddie's a teenager and quite possibly has her own social life. She's mature enough to understand that Abby will get to do fun things with and without her, just like how she'll get to do fun things with her mom without Abby. The husband is being delusional, and he's not exactly treating Maddie as her age. He's complaining and crying about how it's unfair, whilst failing to consult his daughter about how she feels because she can express that on her own. Also, do we believe that Maddie doesn't get to do anything while at her mom's house? It seems like this is pretty clear favoritism. I think that every kid eventually says, "You never let me do anything," when growing up. For Abby, that's totally true. Maddie will be an adult in a few years. Her father's going to be rather surprised when she chooses someone else to be in her life rather than him. Abby will probably cast him off as well. I, 21 male, recently started a full-time job that I absolutely hate. It's exhausting and annoying, and I absolutely hate it. I'm currently trying to find a new job, but I'm really not having much luck. Yesterday, my mom picked me up from work, and I was venting to her about my day. It's worth noting that she's the one who convinced me to apply for my current job. I was venting about how exhausting my job is and how I'm having tough luck finding a new job. She eventually told me, "Whatever's happening, I'm proud of you for working hard at your job and fully joining the workforce." I will admit that I got a bit peeved and said, "I honestly don't give a crap if you're proud of me. I'm unhappy, and your pride in me isn't going to change that." So we spent the rest of the car ride home in silence. My dad told me that, while he understands that I don't like my job, yelling at my mom was an extreme reaction. Am I the idiot? I do admit that yelling at mom was a bit extreme, but she needs to understand that her being proud of me isn't going to make me any happier at my job. Yes, you are the idiot. Based on your mom's statement, you haven't worked full-time until this job that you recently started. You also haven't mentioned any full-time school. So absolutely, you're way too old to be yelling at your mom, your words, just because she was kind to you, because you finally took the steps that you should have taken long ago. And may I add that your mom picked you up from work too? Something that she should only be doing if unusual circumstances are at play here. You sound spoiled and entitled to me. Yep, 21 years old, being picked up from work by their mom and lashing out when she has nothing to do with why he's angry? Yeah, he fits the profile. Sounds like he wants to be a 30-year-old living in his mom's basement, demanding chicken tenders. Your mom was acknowledging that you're in a tough situation, and she's proud of you for sticking it out. Were you fishing for her to tell you to quit and that she'd support you financially until you find a job that you like? Dude, she was trying to tell you that she loves you. Work sucks. You can be upset and gripe at her, but what did you want her to do? She can't wave a wand and suddenly make your job great. Would you have felt better if she told you how her job sucks too? Or that this is it until you die? Just take the compliment and apologize to your mother, OP.